Hello, everyone. We are back with part 2 of this wonderful podcast with our beloved Julia Bien-Aime as we continue to delve into this conversation about money. So let's listen to part 2 of our love affair with money.
Let me ask you this, because
Sure.
we're in a world now where we're doing a lot on our phones. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not as traditional as it used to be,
Mhm.
where now there's a lot of people who invest in stuff like Robinhood. This is not a commercial, any names
Mhm.
that we named tonight, but any companies that we've mentioned tonight, but you have people who invest in Robinhood. You have people who store some money on Acorn and other
Mhm. Mhm.
apps. Would you
Mhm.
consider those part of the emergency fund?
No.
Okay.
So I'll
Why
explain to
not?
you why.
Mm-hmm.
So Robinhood is it's a holding company that allows you to invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, etc. So it's a holding space, right, of where that is done. Um, Acorn essentially allows you to use your change so that it can invest. Investment is long term, it is not savings,
Okay.
right? So if you're investing for the long term goal. It is not a repository in case you don't have an emergency fund to dip in and out of, because the way that you will achieve the wealth through that investment is through long term investment. Your money is not going to, the money won't compound to produce what it needs to produce long term if you keep dipping in and out of it every 2 to 3 months when something happens, when a oops happen. Again, that's adding a band-aid to something that requires stitches. There's a deeper problem. The deeper problem needs to be investigated so that you have a proper plan, right? And also the reason for the budget, honestly, it should be something exciting because it tells you the things that are going wrong and coming to Jesus moment of what you need to do. And I've had conversations with clients and tell them, hey, how long have you been at your job? I've been at my job for 6 years. How many raises have you had? 4. Do you know the market going rate for the position that you hold? No, you need to find out because you're missing out on money. Are you fully vested with your company? Yes. You're fully vested with your 401k? Oh, are you aware that you could transfer it to the new job? Is there something that's stopping you from going from one job to the next if you know that that next opportunity could actually get you one step closer to achieving the financial wealth that you deserve for you and your family? Let's look into that. I would do that with clients. You
Um,
know how many of my clients actually left their jobs? Many of them. You know how many of them are happy? A lot of
a
them.
lot of them, yeah.
I also had uh, a single mom. She has 4 kids, has a house, takes care of her mom, her aunts, the whole partridge in a pear tree. She's like, I need another job. I'm like, you don't need another job. Let's sit down and go through everything. I looked at her cable bill. I said, you paid close to $400 for a cable bill? I
Oof.
said, do me a favor, cable and Wi-Fi, okay? Every room has a flat screen TV with some kind of stuff on it. I said, but aren't those smart TV? She goes, yeah. How do you know? I was like, huh. I'm like, you got teenagers and like we got like grown people kids. Like they haven't graduated high school yet, but they're big enough kids. I said, do me a favor. Ask them what channel is TNT on. She was like, what channel TNT is on? They were like, Mom, what's that? I said, they don't need cable. I said, ask them, what apps do they use the most? Netflix, Hulu, Disney. Okay, when you add all of those things together, how much does that get you? Isn't it still less than $100? Okay, so I just saved you $300 a month. So now you could spend your time at home and your kids could still be happy. And now we just put $300 back in the pool. Okay, what else needs to be paid off? Like just going through certain things of how you could minimize cost, and getting ahead so that you could be ready to looking forward to what's ahead. So for an example for myself, um, I saved money. I wanted to go to Paris and London um, for my birthday year, but I already had saved towards it because I planned it and I was able to schedule and wiggle room the dates of when I was traveling. I budgeted that each ticket will cost 400 and change. I got Virgin Atlantic tickets for $222 plus tax, gratuity, and tip. And I called my mom and my sister. I said, do you guys want to come with me? They were like, well, don't tease us with a good time. Book the ticket. Right? So I was able to not only meet my goal, I exceeded my goal. I was able to put money back in my pocket because I already had a level of preparedness. There's a saying I've said to one person. I said, don't ever sell anything while you're hungry because you'll settle for scraps. Don't ever be in a pace of desperation and make a decision. You have to be sound when you make that decision. You know, some of these financial gurus, they say, hey, you know, when you look at it, you know, when you see this item you want to buy, look at it 3 times, make sure you want to buy it. I had the reverse. You're hungry, don't buy anything. Like if you're really hungry, don't sell, don't buy. You're gonna settle for scraps. You can't afford to do that. You have to have a plan.
And let me say,
the things that we think are so far reaching, they really aren't that far reaching if we're just willing to settle ourselves to put a plan in place. It almost feels like we're reducing ourselves to children, but if you normalize it, it no longer becomes a task. It actually becomes fun because you have more options now. And now you're a kid in a candy store, and now you're not confined to reducing what you want to do and how you do it and how you operate. So
as I listen to you, I can't help but to think about credit cards and a love affair with debt. For someone who perhaps not necessarily struggling with credit card debts, but understand, actually, I want you to, if you can, speak on using credit card debts in a way that benefit you. Can you kind of teach the principle behind that and how to best utilize it?
So essentially, and I'm speaking directly to those who who will pay off their credit card before the credit card is due. Okay. So you're given a certain window, typically between 28 and 31 days, to pay off any swipe that you've done on a credit card at no interest. And once that cycle is over, they compound that interest along with the bill that is owed, and they typically give you a minimum payment. Rule of thumb, if you have a credit card that is, let's say, $1,000, you should not utilize any more than 30 to 40% of that. And 40 is being generous, okay? Because we are scored not only on our utilization, we also are scored on the time making timely payments as well. Those are very important. Those are the 2 highest percentages of how your FICO score is rendered and graded every month. I tell folks who are responsible to assign your credit cards to certain bills on auto pay because you have to pay the bill anyway, correct? So when you are continuously utilizing the credit in order to pay those items, you are incentivizing yourself to increase your line of credit and also to attract other lenders who would want to lend you at a favorable rate. What do I mean, Julia? Discover Card could probably give you an APR of 7%, and Chase Sapphire would say, hey, I'm willing to offer you even a larger line of credit at an intro of 0 APR for the first 6 months, the first 8 months. And if you charge up to $1,500 the first month, we'll give you an additional 5,000 points. That 5,000 points could probably get you, let's just say, I'm just saying, for example, okay, and don't quote me because I'm not utilizing, the 5,000 points could get you a weekend in your local city hotel for the weekend for free, or early check-in, late checkout, and things of that nature. A lot of the credit cards do have incentives where you are able to utilize the points to redeem for A, cash, B, excursions, trips, discounts to stores. If you even utilize partnerships with, like, let's say, for example, Costco, they have linked to certain credit cards where you even get additional points for utilizing certain partners or stores. So I tell people to date your credit cards. You don't stay with them, you date them. Like, hey, nice meeting you, pay the bill, and you keep it moving so that it can increase your line of credit. I love points, but I think people need to just be good stewards of paying their bill, and then they could enjoy the perks of the points. I find that people utilize the credit cards unattractive to what comes at the end at the cost of having a low credit score because they really didn't utilize it properly. The whole point of it is for you to increase your line of credit because credit is king in this country. You really can't go anywhere with the line of credit. And if you are not a favorable lender, no one else is going to want to lend to you. And the relationship you have with your existing credit card is not going to get any better. It's going to stay stagnant. For those who've been paying their credit card not only on time, but paying more than the minimum balance, I always tell them, contact your credit card company at, once it's a year anniversary and say, hi, I've been with you guys for a year. I've been really paying on time. I've been paying more than the minimum balance. I just got an offer for an extended line of credit with a 0% transfer. I want to know if you could do a soft pull, and if you would increase my line of credit, I will stay. And they'll more than likely put you on hold. And 9 out of 10 of my clients had an increased line of credit of at least $5,000 to $2,500. I will tell you personally myself, I have a credit card, and with that credit card, I pay certain bills on that credit card every single month. I pay my cell phone bill. I go to Costco with that card. I also use gas on that card. And my points, some of the points could be redeemed as cash where you could pay off. Some cards have like membership fees. I have a membership fee on mine. It pays off my membership fee, and the change that I have left, I don't even redeem it as cash until it's the winter time. And I'm talking about November. And guess what I do with that money? I use it to buy gift cards. I give gift cards to my cousin, and everyone thinks that I'm rich.
I love it.
Right? So in order to get access to more cash or to certain tangible things that make us feel good, we have to also do the work.
And be disciplined.
Like you have to have a level of discipline in order for that to work. Because something's going to break, you got to figure out once it breaks how to fix it. Some people just don't know where to start to fix because they don't know where it started in the first place. And if your intention is to accumulate points, first of all, you need to research the credit card company that the type of reward system that they have is conducive, that is something you're going to even utilize. Because if it's not something you're going to utilize, why do you have you could have the card, but you should have put so much energy trying to accumulate something that you really won't use or it won't make sense for you. You have to figure out what makes sense for you. But until you get there, I tell people concentrate on the line of credit and less on the perks, because you'll be able to afford the perks anyway. For free at times. That's why you sign up with different companies. You see what's on sale. You go on Skyscanner. You play with dates. People are like, how do you travel like that so often? I travel based on, I put everywhere. I put dates and I go least to most. Oh, let me go to Barbados. $200 deal. I didn't plan on going to Barbados. Guess what? The price told me I could go to Barbados because the price was right for me. You know what I mean? So if your goal is to travel here, you can still make that goal. But how about making that goal to travel?
Yeah, that's how I've traveled too. I usually, my favorite is Google Flights. I'm going anywhere. First thing I do, Google Flights, look it up, see how much it is. And I'm sorry, usually when I hear people say, oh, I cannot afford to go overseas, I'll go to Miami. I've traveled outside of the country to Central America and Europe for less than it costs to actually go to Miami.
So I spent $212 to go to Heathrow through Virgin Atlantic. Are you listening to me, guys?
I hear you.
And I was not in coach. I wasn't in first class either, but I was in premium coach. And it was good living for $212. And from JFK to Orlando, it cost me an average of $364 of when I travel.
Mhm.
So again, these goals aren't impossible, but you have to have a plan to your goals. And when you have a plan, it leaves room for the spontaneity of other opportunities to arise because you were a planner. There are certain people who could get up and they could travel at the drop of a dime, but the seed has been planted for them to do that. Um, everyone will get there one day, but some people got there one day because they inherited it, while others had to build it. But nevertheless, it still doesn't mean that we still can't get to the same destination.
But I'm sorry, I think even those who inherited, a lot of them, the reason that they're able to keep it is by taking care of it, being a good steward of
Well,
it.
being a good steward is because they were also educated on what was given to them,
That part.
So speaking
right?
about being a good steward, right? How do one, as a parent, how do you teach your teenagers, or maybe it's already too late by the time they become teenagers, to respect or understand the value of a dollar or the value of debt without resorting to this when I was your age speech and then they tune you out completely?
Well, so here's the thing. Most children or young teenagers will not listen to what you do, but they will watch what you do. So if you're that person that still go shopping knowing that this is due and you ignore it, they see it. They don't get it from just anywhere. I find that most times that children will follow their parents' spending habits. They will follow, if their parents are always at a boat ride, they're gonna want to be at a boat ride. They're they're they don't understand the consequence. They just go for it because that's what they see, right? If their parents are always going partying, they're gonna go party. If they see their mom purchasing a handbag, guess what they do when they get their first job? They're gonna purchase that handbag. So if I find that the example of being, or even at least showing that this is what I'm attempting to do, and having a level of transparency about this is where I am, it's going to let kids have an insight to the realness, because there's realness to it, right? Of what happens. And it's not only because your children are going to grow up and they're going to move out on their own, but also I tell people, when you have children of that age, you have to teach them what it's like for them to live without you. Okay. Um, and when I mean without you, I have a client, her mom had a stroke and is in rehab, and her mom will never be able to work again, right? But guess what? She used to see her mom write out her bills every single month. She managed to do the same because she saw her mom do it. Her mom is like, this is where this is. This is where this bill is. This is what, like, her mom had a level of transparency. Her mom didn't say you have to pay it. Her mom showed her, this is what I do in order to get this end result. And she was able to emulate that seamlessly because she was bared a witness. I remember going to my mom's home church and there was a women's retreat. And I said, I'm going to turn this place loose. They're not going to like me by the time I leave here. And one of the Q&A, I did a whole presentation, beautiful. Q&A comes and I looked at my mother and told my mother, I'm going to tear them up. Here we go. And one of the first ladies with the biggest hat on was like, I want to know why my son, I sent him to college and he came back home and he tell me he can't help me contribute, but he has a car and he has a this and he has a that. And, by his age, I had my house. I said, ma'am, I rebuke you. Because did you tell your son, who influenced your son to go to that private university when they could have went to a state school? You did, right? Because it looked good. I said, great. Who convinced him to take out those student loans when he had a choice to go to school for free? You did. Okay, that's on you. When he came back home, and she said, he makes $100,000 a year and he can't even afford to. I said, okay. He makes $100,000 a year. Does he make 100,000 gross or net? That's his salary. I said, well, let me break it down for you, ma'am. He lives in New York. After taxes, he probably brings home $66,000 a year. I said, who convinced him to get a car if he was going to come back and live home in a city where he could afford to take a bus and trade?
Mm-hmm.
You did. Oh, did he have a favorable credit score? No, but you convinced him to get that car. So now he's home. He has $100,000 student loan for going to that private school that you told him to go to, that he has to pay for 6 months after he graduates. He has a car note. He has car insurance at $66,000, okay, that you convinced him. He has to eat. He has to, I said, all of these things, but you never had the discussion with him of how much your bills were. I struggled. I said, have you ever showed him a bill? Has he ever seen what a gas bill looked like? A light bill looked like? I said, you always made it that you were going to take care of him and everything was going to be okay. You never taught him that eventually he would have to take care of the home that he would have to come back to, because you never set that up. I said, have you ever asked him after all of his expenses what he's left with after making 60-something thousand dollars a year? I said, when you went to college, did you have student loans? You didn't have student loans, did you? No. I said, and when you were going to church, did you have a car and car insurance? No. I said, we used to take a church van together, correct? So group economics, we used to put money together, take the church van and go home. And I said, and that's how you guys got your homes, because there was a group economics involved. You guys would buy things in bulk and you guys would split it up. You don't need to do that today, thankfully, right? Because everyone's doing well. You got the big church hat on. But I said, but when did you teach him? Or when did you show him? So not showing your children is almost like lying to your children. You need to tell them, this is how much I pay for a light bill. I bet you they will not keep that light on.
And you know, Julia, full transparency, the
Mhm.
conversation we're having right now, I had that conversation with my son, I would say maybe about almost 2 months ago. And the very first thing he said to me is, Dad, have you ever sit down with me and show me how much money you spend on this bill or that bill or this bill or that bill? Like, how do I know that as I needed to learn this or needed to understand this or needed to? So I'm listening to you, and it dawned to me, we do our kids a disservice in a way. We think we're protecting them, we're taking care of them, we're providing for them, and we think if we do all that, we're doing what actually they need. But in reality, not preparing them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, we're actually doing them a disservice.
Correct.
For the first time, I felt, and I listened to him, the beginning of the conversation, you know, as two men, we were butting heads. But the moment he said that, I shut my mouth down, swallowed my pride, and listened to what my son has to say. And it dawned to me as he was describing his scenario to me that you're right. I didn't prepare him for this. And so now we're in a place, okay, it's not too late. Let's figure this out together. Let's see how we can fix this. But it is imperative. I think I'm saying this just to say how important it is for us as parents to not make that mistake, because we do it out of love, but in reality, we're hurting the person that we are actually trying to show love to. We end up hurting them even more by not preparing them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet.
Right.
And I think
mhm.
no, I was going to say, I think it's a good segue to my question, because my question to you, Julia, is what's your go-to advice for teaching kids about money without putting them to sleep, without it sounding boring?
So there's like a lot of great tools out there for kids of different age groups. There's so many different tools. Monopoly style. There's like games like Allowance for like kids 5 through 8. So what I would say is that, you know, and I don't think there's a one-step method. I think it depends on the parent and the temperature of the parent. If they want to approach it like a game, you could approach it like a game. There's programs called like Junior Achievement, where they're taught in schools of, you know, in different grades from kindergarten all the way to 12. Different lesson plans on money. Some of them you could even download yourself and you can conduct it yourself. I volunteered for Junior Achievement for 7 years. I've done grades 4 all the way through 12. And you'll be very surprised of what children know and what they don't know, depending on the demographic. So there's one 4th grade class. There was a young boy. He already knew he had boats that he had to pay insurance on. He knew these like things. And I'm like, but you're in the 4th grade. I say that to say, Mondy, that the right age, our children are sponges. The earlier we can teach them, the less difficult it is as they grow older to add the nuggets. But it doesn't mean that you still cannot teach your 18-year-old how to budget. It still doesn't mean that you can't teach your 18-year-old the ideas and the facts behind credit and how it could make you or break you, and give examples how it made you or break you, and telling your children, listen, you're away in college, you have credit cards. Are you aware that you can call your credit card company if you know you're going to get paid by this date? Make sure that when you change the date, it corroborates with the payment due date so that you won't get penalized. Make sure that you pay more than the minimum balance. Make sure that you take at least 10% and you save for yourself, and, you know, for a sinking fund for the things you want to do. Make sure you take the other 10% and you put it towards long-term savings, or open up an IRA, which could grow tax-free. And if you have an emergency in the future, you could actually, you know, pay yourself rather than taking a loan. Again, it starts with ourselves and the knowledge that we have to have a level of comfort and approach when we're teaching our children about money, and not teaching them in a vein of scarcity, but teach them in a vein of empowerment, that you actually have the power to do this, but there's also a risk. And as a parent, I love you enough to tell you, this is what you should do early to set yourself up for success.
So
but they're going to follow, they will follow you. But if you're not putting no money in no savings account, no high yield savings account, to show them the example, how is it going to stick? It's not going to stick.
So we've talked about, you know, work, we've talked about the kids and savings and all of that good stuff. Now I want to talk about retirement. I want to talk about the future. What's a good way for someone to do financial planning as a single mom, or as a single parent, I should say?
Single or not, you still need financial planning. There are many single parents who are successful in their retirement because they had a plan, and because they seek advice on how to best pursue their goal towards retirement, and they actually put towards away their retirement without touching it. Right? And starting earlier than later enable them to have a projection of, oh, because I started at 35 and I'm a single parent and I put away X amount, by the time I'm of retirement age of 65 years old, I know that my portfolio would have the net worth of X, Y, and Z. I'll be able to take out 2 to 3% of that, and I will be able to live off of that upon retirement, along with Social Security. I will be able to live this type of life with inflation and all. I'll be able to afford to stay in this house, or maybe I will need to downgrade, but at least I know what my projections are, and I can make plans because I already know by that time, this is what I need to do. By then, I need to either pay off my house, or I need to to downsize because my children are not going to be there. Do you get what I'm saying? So again, the plan is initiating the plan, following through on the plan, and having check-ins with the financial planner. Some people require a financial planner all year round, while others require a consultation to understand where they are with their investment mix. So if I started investing in my 20s, my investment mix in my 20s would not be reflected the same when I'm 40 years old. I may need to make some changes because the risk tolerance that I had at 20, I can't have when I'm 40. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's as if when I was young, I could eat cake, but as I get older, I have to eat less cake because it's not good for my hips. It's not good for my joints. Does that kind of make sense?
It does.
And just because you make changes doesn't mean that something's wrong. You're making changes to pad the effects if the market were to go bad or not. You're just trying to maximize your chances of not losing a lot, because you'll lose up and it'll go up and it'll go down, right? But there'll still be a projected plan because of the fact that you made those changes. Okay, considering I make these changes, I know that I'll be able to yield this amount by this time.
And so earlier you mentioned something about, because I mean, we know the reality is a lot of people are losing their jobs because we're in what you call a silent recession. It's not as loud as 2008, right? And with that, so with people losing their jobs, leaving their jobs, we know it's a lot of people with 401ks and other retirements out there, and they may be unsure as to what their options are, especially those who may have lost their jobs. What would you say to someone who maybe had a retirement from a previous job, or maybe they've lost their job and this money is in there? What are some of their options?
So for the individuals that have a 401k plan and a traditional IRA, if you do not meet the age requirements according to the IRS, not according to the companies of which they're held under, okay? The IRS, if you are not of the retirement age, what happens is you get taxed twice, and I'll explain how. You get taxed upon withdrawal of the funds, and then the following tax year, because it was given to you as income, it's taxed as ordinary income, and then you're taxed again. So is it worth being taxed twice?
Nope.
More than likely, it is not worth being taxed twice. Also, some folks who've experienced job loss in a silent recession and a recession, and I can speak to you from experience in 2008, 2009, most of my shares was with Citibank at the time. I was laid off from Citibank, and our stock was $68 per share, and it went down to $14 per share. I felt like it was going to go to zero, and I cashed it out, and I ended up being taxed the following year heavily for it. Okay. I don't want that to happen to the next person. So what I would say, that if you have that 401k, that 401k is for your future, is not for your now. You can have it rolled over. Depending, I don't, I'm not here to tell people to roll it over immediately, because some people find jobs and they're able to roll it over to their new job. Make sure that it's rolled over. If you decide to become an entrepreneur full time, you could actually have it rolled over into a traditional IRA, in which you're still able to make investments. And there's plenty of vehicles that you are allowed to make even broader selections of how you want to do your investment mix, such as, and I'm not endorsing, I don't get paid to endorse, but I just want to get the names out there for familiarity, would be Schwab or Fidelity, a Vanguard. Those are companies that hold brokerage accounts such as those. If you have a Roth IRA, and a Roth IRA means that it's already taxed, it grows tax-free, and there's no age restriction because it's already post-tax contribution. If you have one of those and you have money in that, I would take money out of that, yes, because it's already taxed. There's no penalty involved in a Roth IRA, even though there's income limits up to how much you can contribute. So this year is $6,500 a year. that you can contribute. But some people have multiple Roth IRAs. That's another conversation for another day. But assuming Mondy had a Roth IRA for, $50,000, he would have no tax consequence of withdrawing the $50,000 because it's already post-tax. And the interest that he grows also grows tax-free. So if you have something of that nature, then yes, you can. But a 401k plan, you do not touch. A TDA, you do not touch. Anything with an age restriction for withdrawal, you are not allowed to touch, and you should not touch at all. That's why going through a budget is very important, so that you can recognize what other plans that are in place. I will tell people that there are many nonprofit organizations. There's grant programs out there. Depending what cities you live in, you may be able to get, a 1 month, like they'll pay your rent or they'll pay a utility, but you have to identify what the needs, the necessary and ordinary expenses are, so that you could attack that first, recognize those numbers and how to get that. I hope I answered your question around that. But I never suggest to anyone, especially during a volatile time such as this, if someone were to lose their jobs, because the stock market has been very eggy and very flowy. Also during years of election years, the stock market tends to be very eggy and very flowy. So I do tell people that they should wait it out. And if they have a financial advisor, to seek the financial advisor about liquidating the asset, because there are tax consequences of certain degrees of when they do that. And sometimes it's worth it and sometimes it's not. So I don't suggest people on their own free will decide to liquidate it because something seems to go wrong or not. Things could go down, but guess what? The Citibank stock is right back up where it was. So if I had just left it alone and mind my business, I would have been okay. So always seek professional advice. You don't have to be assigned to a financial advisor per se, but there are financial advisors that will give a consultation, that will do a risk analysis and tell you the mix of investments that you should do, because people think investment is stocks. No, investments are not solely stocks. There's a lot of different categories and tax consequences of what you invest in, whether it's in your 401k bank, your Roth IRA, your traditional IRA, right? So if I had a Roth IRA, most of my stocks are in my Roth and in my brokerage account. Why? Because the tax consequences are less there, right? And then I'll have EFTs somewhere else. So there's types of investments and there's placements of where you put the investments in order to maximize the growth and to minimize your tax consequence. Sometimes because we see all these products, the Robinhoods of this and that, and we just put everything in there. And then when we cash out, we're like, what? All these taxes, and it's like, well, you worked hard and you played hard, but how do you put it in this vehicle? Oh, I didn't know. Okay. So when I have a cough, I don't assume I have a regular cough. Guess what I do? I go to the doctor, because my cough could actually not be related to a cold. It could be related to my asthma. Let the professionals tell you what is going on so that you can make better educated decisions. Now, if you're a savvy investor, I want you to do you and to be happy. But my job is to do taxes, right? My job is to be a mom. I'm not a guru at, the ebbs and flows of how things change. I see a professional to do my yearly check-in or my every 5-year check-in to say, this is where I am. Some people have portfolios where it needs to be managed by a financial advisor in order for them to maximize what they're doing, because they don't have the time and, they want to be pretty aggressive with mix, because they're always putting money into the account. So they need the financial advisor to turn it as soon as those those deposits go in order to make more money happen. But for your everyday person, right, that is just starting and doesn't have $2 million or $1 million, but if you have $50,000, your $50,000 still deserves to have a review. And there are people who can make, do a review for you. to make sure that your $50,000 will maximize to the 100K eventually.
My
And you'll
gosh.
know when that 100K will hit sooner than later. But
Monday, this has been
Our mouth.
such, oh my goodness. And we're gonna need to bring you back. We're just gonna have to bring you back. I think that's the only thing that makes sense. Wouldn't you agree, Monday?
Listen, not too very often we get a guest to the show where we actually take a sit back and pull out our papers and begin to take notes. Okay,
I'm over here
So-
taking notes. But speaking of taking notes,
mhm,
I think I have a last question for you,
mhm.
Julia, and my question last-ish. My question for you is, with everything you just shared, which was like, it was so much information, so many good stuff, right? But someone who's listening and want a takeaway, what what is a good financial strategy that you can share with someone, something that feels almost like a cheat code, like a cheat sheet, so they can take
Okay.
away for savings and budgeting and all of that good stuff? Give us your
Uh,
best.
Um, so I like the 50-30-20 rule. It works for some because some people need like concrete stuff in order to um structure themselves, and then they could freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would tell folks 50% are towards the necessary and ordinary expenses. 30% is for um let's say your incidentals, almost like your other ad hoc things, like I'm going to go to the movies, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. 20% should always be a savings of some sort. I'm not telling you an emergency fund. Like, you have to decide how to. Some folks are not even at the emergency fund phase. Let's just put it that way. Some people,
Mm-hmm.
you just need to get your bills together. And then once the bills are together, you need to figure out, do you need to work another job? Do you need to find another job? Right? Um, and once you figure out how to cut back things, I think that kind of structure would work for them. Um, Another cheat code that I use that really works out great is that I'm a new mom, and this human of mine, he's a very expensive person. Um, so what I've done is that I have a checking account for my bills, and then he's a bill for me. So what does that bill include? That bill includes nursery school, it includes diapers, it includes wipes, it includes incidentals of seeing a specialist, and then the insurance company sends you a nice bill in the mail. Yes, it goes all to that account. So whatever income I generate, there's a portion that automatically goes to his automatically, and I know that all of his things are covered to the T. Um, and in that way, there's always an accountability of where something has gone broken, instead of combining things all together. Because I try to combine things all together and I got a headache. But now that I separated it, it allows me to understand where his needs are and where I need to shift something over. If something goes short, I know what to do it on his side, and making decisions for myself of what I need to cut back on or what I need more of in order to balance the scales between my life as a mom, as an entrepreneur, and me being a mom and providing for Daniel's everyday needs as well. Um, Savings accounts. Um, we need to start dating other banks for shopping for our savings. So if we're saving $20 a paycheck, where we could be, actually getting, you know, $4 on that $20, or whatever the case may be. I'm just using those numbers. We need to stop shopping around to make sure that we have favorable outcomes when we're putting money away in our regular savings, which could be a high yield savings, and also in our investments, should we get there. So placement is important,
Mm-hmm.
but we can only place things when we know where things are. Then we know what shelves to put them in, right? So that would be my cheat code. If you recognize there's a kryptonite of your Hulu bill and you forgot about your Hulu bill and, automations, go through your PayPal, go through, you know, your Cash Apps to see what the trends are. There's certain bank accounts that even tells you, hey, you spent this much on entertainment for the month, the percentage from all of the income that you brought in. You're able to check yourself and say, oh, that's what I did last month. Guess what I'm doing this month? I'm going to cut it in half, and I'm going to be intentional about what I'm going to do the following month. So I would use that as a cheat code, because again, you're empowering yourself, but you're also holding yourself accountable because you actually have the raw data to see where you're going, month to month and quarterly and yearly. I love Thanksgiving. Guess what I have? I have a bank account, and I put money away at the beginning of the year every 2 weeks for Thanksgiving. I projected I'm going to be spending $600 for Thanksgiving. Guess what I did? I made it $1,000. I barely feel it because it's so small. And guess what? Every year I end up having surplus money left over because, again, I wasn't hungry when I went shopping. When you're hungry, you go shopping, you tend to buy more. And you mentally, you don't have the distinction to say, you know what, I really need to put that back. You know how many broke people go out and spend more than what they actually had? No business spending.
Ooh, child.
We've all been there.
Yes.
We had no business going in that store. We know we had no business going in that store.
Or when you're on social media and you see, I don't know, like there's a big sign, there's a sale, it's a closeout, or it's a blowout sale, 70% off. You go in there and you end up spending, I don't know, $200-$300 for no reason.
Yeah, but we're conditioned to be consumers because it's taught that it's supposed to make us feel good, right? But when's the last time we went for a walk in the park? When's the last time we've had breakfast with Santa? When's the last time, we've gone ice skating? Like we need to start finding other activities that we can do to enjoy each other, to still feel the endorphins in our bodies, to feel that we've accomplished things. So I tell people, take a sheet of paper and section 3 things. What brings me joy that costs nothing? In the middle, what brings me joy that comes at a nominal cost that I can afford to pay for? And what would bring me joy that is like overarching? Like, did I want to go to Dubai? Did I want to, get a breast lift? Whatever that case may be, and start writing those things down. And you'll realize that there are things that you can do in each category to still make you feel whole, and you won't feel so impulsive as a consumer and make bad decisions. We have to figure out other mediums to feel our happy without having to purchase something in order to do it, to live above our means in order to do it.
You were saying Thanksgiving. One thing I look forward to around Thanksgiving is that Hulu deal. It's been happening for several years now. I'm not even lying to you.
But you know what? I want that to make you happy.
And $199. I pay $199. Somebody can laugh at me if you want to. Oh, but and this year I treated myself. I added Disney Plus for my 12-year-old, and it was $2.99. Somebody can
don't tease me with a good time, Babby. Don't tease me with a good time.
I pay less than $5 a month for both Hulu and Disney Plus.
But what I'm hearing though, this is what we call you outsmart the market, right? You did your research, you stayed disciplined, you didn't get the Hulu when you know it's gonna be too high. You waited, right? You waited, you were disciplined, and at the end of the day, you now can treat yourself. And if I have learned anything from listening to Julia tonight, it's this thing, staying disciplined with your finances. Is almost like the superhero of your own bank account, right? It's not just about saying no to your impulses, to buying things, but it's really about saying yes to your future, yes to your financial freedom, so that you can have what we all desire, a peace of mind, right?
Right.
So discipline is the secret sauce to everything that she talks about tonight, because this is the only place that you can turn your financial chaos into this well-organized success story.
Yes. So, and also discipline does not mean I'm not here to strip away anyone's joy. So I have a particular joy. Fabi knows about it. A lot of people in my circle know about it. My joy is Starbucks. It's a non-negotiable. Okay. I had a fight with my OBGYN doctor, who I love very much, when she attempted to open her mouth and to tell me that I need to do away with Starbucks. After I was done with her, let's just say that the conversation of Starbucks never came back up. Okay. All right. That's my non-negotiable. Is it expensive? Obviously it is. For some. For me, it brings me a level of peace. But guess what? I'm not Starbucking and eating out lunching every day and brunching every day, French toasting with eggs and doing the butt, for a party brunch. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you pick what that is and stick to it.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But I don't do all of the other additional things. Yes, there's certain and I could afford to do the non-negotiable. And what people, they're like, oh my God, you spend all that much money? Ask Babby how many times I purchased Starbucks. I don't.
Oh, for me,
I know when the
you've
deals
purchased it a couple of times. Thank you.
Yeah, well, yes. Yeah, but that's my love language, because I love you as much as I love myself. So I'm going to show up the same way. But what I'm saying is, I probably go to Starbucks 4 times during the week, and I probably only paid once. I figured out my hacks in order to make sure I still have it. Just because I have the money doesn't mean that I spend all of it. Right? So on Thursdays, they had a drink for $3 at 12 o'clock. Guess what time I got there? 12:05. I gave you 5 additional minutes to get your life together to give me my drink for $3. Do you know what I'm saying? So again, but how am I able to do that? I'm able to do that because there's a plan. You may not be a paper person. There's Excel. You may not be an Excel person because of formulas. No problem. There are people who are selling spreadsheets with formulas you could input the information. But a composition notebook, it costs 99 cents. That never hurt anybody either. Find the platform that works for you and stick to it. Do not purchase this whole thing for $60 and I don't even know how to use it. You're not going to know how to use it because the basis of it is I need to know what your bills are, the address, if there's a link for you to do an auto pay or not. You don't have to do auto pay, by the way. The link to pay it, the access to that, the mailing address if you do a money order. Some people still do stuff old school. I'm not here to tell people how to do it. But however you do it, put it in a place where someone could find it, and the date. How many married couples? Oh, so-and-so takes care of everything. And then something happens, no one knows where to find anything. What are we doing, folks?
I want to take this moment on behalf of Fabi and I to give a massive shout out and to really share a ton of gratitude. And we want to send all that your way right now. Your insights on today's podcast felt like, right, Fabi? We felt like we were on a financial feast.
Oh, absolutely.
As we were listening to you, it was a banquet full of wisdom that led not just Fabi, but every one of us craving for more. And that's why we have to bring you back. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise and making this episode an absolute gem. And
you know, Monday, I want to put this out there too, because we will bring Julia back. And so I wanted to put this out there for our listeners. If you have any questions for Julia, or if you have any questions about today's episode, finance questions, so I urge you to, wherever you're listening, maybe put it in the comments. And if you want to, because, you know, money, it's something that's very private. And if you don't want to use such a public platform, send us an email or send us a DM via Instagram, and we will make sure that your questions get to Julia. And if you want to know where our Instagram and where our email is always located in the show notes. So wherever you're listening, our show notes, our informations are there for you to reach out to us.
Well done. Well
And I
done.
think Julia has something she's trying to add.
Oh no, we could listen. So I am so grateful for you guys, Nandi and Fabi. And remember, I told you at the top of the show that I had something to say and then, like, to remind me. So I wanted to remind you. So there was this Jamaican guy when I was in high school, and he would try to talk to me, and he'd be like, "Mrs. Good Lover." That's what he used to call me instead of Bien-Aime.
Oh my gosh, Bien-Aime, good lover.
He's like, "Miss Good Lover, you hear me call you?" I'm like,
From this day forward, that's how we're gonna address you.
Miss Good Lover.
yes, he used to call me Miss Good Lover.
That
yeah.
was funny.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I love that name for you. Wonderful.
God.
And you heard it right here on Seeds of Love.
That's my new name for her.
Yeah, I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I have a passion for helping our community. First of all, normalize the conversation, humanize the conversation,
Yes.
and not diminish anyone. I want folks to know that if you are going through a hard time, I want you to know that you are heard, you are seen, even though you feel that you're not understood. It is understood. It is uncomfortable. But the good news is that it's not permanent, and that there is a solution. And that if you have to start over, it is okay. And it's also okay to change your mind. So know that you are valuable, and that money does not define you, but you utilize it in order to establish roots for you and your family to maximize the potential of what the world has to offer. So again, I thank you both. And I look forward to a part 2.
Looking forward to having you back soon for another round of financial brilliance right here on Seeds of Love. So thank you again, Julia Bien-Aime. Fabi, take us out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this was Miss Good Lover. Thank you so much, Julia.
I love it.
Thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you, our listeners, for being part of this, for spending the time with us. And we love you, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.
I got a story to tell. It's about 2 cool cats in town. Mondy and Fabi, they spitting truth like no other. Spreading love and positivity, it's like they're undercover. Got a podcast called Seeds of Love, dropping knowledge and vibes. Exploring life's mysteries, taking you on a wild ride. From deep conversations to silly jokes and laughter, they're taking over the airwaves, man, they're the podcast masters. Seeds of Love grows with the beats and rhyme. Mondy and Fabi spreading love one podcast at a time. Tune in, vibe out, let the words inspire. When it comes to hip-hop and love, they never die, never die. Yeah, they taking it high. Mondy and Fabi watching soar through the sky. With their words like weapons, they're changing the game. Seeds of Love podcast forever etched in your brain. Yo, turn up the volume, listen close to the beat. It's Mondy and Fabi bringing love to the streets. Podcast on live, spreading wisdom and truth. Seeds of love growing, watch it take root. Seeds of love, we planting it everywhere we go. Spreading light, making hearts glow. Tune in and vibe, let the message ignite. Seeds of love are taking flight, oh yeah. Seeds of love, we planting it everywhere we go. Spreading light, making hearts glow. Tune in and vibe, let the message ignite. Seeds of love are taking flight.